Right now, at this very moment, there's a river flowing above your head, but you can't see it, you can't touch it, and you've probably never noticed it in your entire life. This is not an exaggeration. The water vapor suspended in Earth's atmosphere contains about 6 times more water than all the rivers, lakes, and reservoirs on Earth combined. You can't see it because it exists as individual water molecules hidden within the air, but it's there, above your head, waiting. What if you could extract that water directly from the air, without waiting for a single drop of rain, in the middle of the desert? No river, no well, no kilometers of pipelines. That's exactly what we're claiming. If this works, we may no longer need massive dams or endless pipeline networks to pump water into our cities. Water could be produced exactly where it's needed, directly from the air in that very location. But is this really possible? Or is it just a dream that will never make it beyond the walls of a laboratory? 97.5% of the Earth's water is salt water. Almost all of the remaining fresh water is locked away in glaciers or deep underground, where it's difficult to reach. The portion we can access easily makes up less than 0.1% of the total. That's why a large share of the world's population experiences water shortages for at least 1 month every year. In California, farmers measure their well water levels year after year. Across southern Europe, summers have become synonymous with water restrictions. In India's cities, water tankers move from neighborhood to neighborhood, delivering what the pipes cannot. Has your tap ever run dry? Mine never has. But for half the world, reliable water isn't a luxury, it's a daily struggle. And what about the energy it takes just to bring that water to you? Building a dam, laying pipelines, pumping, treating. Decades of work, billions of dollars, and massive infrastructure. All of it for that single glass of water in your hand. But what if the source of your water was your own rooftop, or a station in the middle of your neighborhood? This isn't a distant dream. Right now, in different parts of the world, small systems are already producing water from the air. In desert communities, solar-powered units absorb moisture during the day and turn it into liquid water at night. In disaster zones, portable systems continue providing clean water even after the infrastructure has collapsed. But the real question isn't whether they can produce a few liters. It's whether they can do it on a scale large enough to supply an entire city, or even a region. Because the answer could completely change the way we think about water. Here's the claim. One of the driest deserts on Earth could produce most of its own drinking water without relying on a single river or underground aquifer, simply by harvesting it directly from the air. The first time we heard that, the reaction was obvious. That's ridiculous. There's no moisture in the desert. But there is. Even in the driest places on Earth, the air still contains measurable amounts of water vapor. The problem was never the lack of moisture. The problem was that we didn't have a material capable of capturing it. That's where a remarkable class of crystals comes in. They're called metal organic frameworks, materials engineered at the atomic level inside laboratories. Their pores are so precisely designed that they can capture water molecules even when humidity is extremely low, like a lock that responds to only one specific key. And these crystals are remarkably efficient. Even from the dry air of the desert, they can absorb water equal to nearly 1/3 of their own weight. They work passively, absorbing moisture during the night, then using the sun's heat during the day to release it as vapor, which is condensed into liquid water. No electricity, no pumps, no complex machinery. In an arid landscape, a vast field stretches across the horizon. At first glance, it looks like a solar farm. But these panels aren't generating electricity. They're producing water. Inside each panel are thin layers coated with specialized crystals. As temperatures drop at night, these layers begin absorbing moisture from the air. When the sun rises and heats the panels during the day, the captured moisture is released as vapor, then condensed on a cool surface and collected as liquid water. The daily output of a single panel may seem modest, but imagine hundreds or even thousands of them working together in a giant water farm, much like a solar power plant. A system like that could supply a significant share of a town's daily drinking water. What does that mean for you? Water no longer has to travel for miles. It's produced exactly where it's needed. No transportation costs, no losses through pipelines, no rivers being drained. Now picture this in the aftermath of a disaster. After a major earthquake, a city's water network could remain out of service for weeks. A portable solar-powered unit could continue producing clean water using nothing but the moisture already present in the air. This isn't just a concept. It's a scenario that has already been tested for disaster relief. On a citywide scale, every neighborhood, even every building, could generate part of its own water supply from its rooftop, just as homes have begun producing their own electricity with solar panels. Only this time, it's not about power. It's about water. Early in the morning, just before sunrise, rows of slim panels stretch across the rooftop of a small community health clinic in an arid region. A healthcare worker walks to a small storage room behind the building. Inside is a tank filled with water collected overnight. It didn't rain. No water truck arrived. The water came from nothing but the air. They check the tank, record the water level, and begin preparing for the day's first patient. They no longer wonder whether water will arrive. They know it will be there every morning. Just beyond the clinic, children are walking to school. They pause for a moment in the shade cast by the panels. To them, the sight is completely ordinary now, no different from a utility pole standing beside the road. So if this is possible, why don't we see it in every desert already? We ask the same question. The answer isn't really technical, it's financial. When these crystals are produced in the laboratory, they're still quite expensive. Building a system large enough to supply a city requires a major upfront investment with today's manufacturing costs. The second challenge is scalability. Producing water with a handful of crystals in a laboratory is one thing. Scaling that process into thousands of full-sized panels is something entirely different. Manufacturing these materials in large quantities without compromising their microscopic structure is still an engineering challenge. The third issue is energy balance. Although the system is designed to run primarily on solar energy, some climates require additional cooling to maximize water collection. That extra energy increases the overall cost. And then there's a fourth challenge, perhaps the least talked about of them all. Water is one of the most heavily regulated resources on Earth. Deploying a new water production system requires approval from local authorities, compliance with safety standards, and extensive certification. Even when the technology is ready, these regulatory processes can delay real-world deployment for years. So the obstacle isn't just one thing. From an engineering standpoint, much of the technology is already here. The real challenge is making it economically sustainable, scalable, and practical to deploy on a massive scale. If you had to solve just one of those problems first, which would it be? The cost? The regulations? Or convincing people that you really can make water out of thin air? Let's take a closer look at these challenges, because behind each one is a story of progress. From a technical standpoint, the biggest challenge is efficiency in low-humidity environments. Producing water in humid regions is relatively easy, but the places that need it most are deserts. Even so, researchers are developing new materials that can capture large amounts of water even when humidity is extremely low. Some of the latest composite materials can produce more than a liter of water per square meter each day, a level that was considered out of reach just a few years ago. From an economic perspective, material costs remain high. But solar panels were once extremely expensive too. As production scaled up, prices dropped dramatically. Many researchers expect these water harvesting materials to follow a similar path. From an infrastructure standpoint, dust and sand can reduce the efficiency of the panels. Fortunately, this isn't a particularly complex problem. Automated cleaning systems can significantly reduce the impact and keep performance at a high level. Then there's regulation. Drinking water standards are, understandably, strict. Demonstrating that water harvested from the air is consistently safe takes time. But that doesn't mean the technology is unsafe. On the contrary, it means safety has to be proven before widespread adoption. Public acceptance is another hurdle. For thousands of years, people have been used to getting water from rivers, lakes, and wells. The idea of making water from air can sound strange at first, but the same was once true for solar energy. Today, seeing solar panels on rooftops barely attracts a second glance. In the end, none of these obstacles are impossible to overcome. They all have something in common. Given enough time, larger scale production, and the right investment, every one of them can be solved. Now let's look beneath the surface, because this is where the project's most overlooked, and perhaps most important, implications begin to emerge. The first layer. This isn't just a new source of water, it's a tool for independence. Today, many countries are forced to share their water resources with neighboring nations. Because major rivers cross national borders, water often becomes a source of geopolitical tension. Harvesting water from the air could allow a region to meet part of its water demand without depending on any cross-border source. Have you ever heard the phrase water wars? Now imagine this. If every country could produce a significant portion of its own water, how many of those conflicts would have to find another excuse? The second layer is the relationship between water and energy. Most of today's water systems rely on energy-intensive processes, such as desalinating seawater or pumping water across vast distances. A passive, solar-powered system could dramatically reduce that energy burden, allowing water security and climate goals to move forward together. The third layer lies in the science of the materials themselves. These crystals were originally developed for entirely different purposes, including gas storage and filtration. Their ability to harvest water emerged as an unexpected application. Time and again, history has shown that some of the greatest breakthroughs come from reimagining a material that was designed to solve a completely different problem. And then there's the final layer, perhaps the most human of them all. This idea is built on a simple but profound shift, transforming water from something defined by scarcity into a resource that's available everywhere, much like sunlight itself. That's more than a technological achievement. It represents a fundamental change in the way humanity thinks about water. You probably hadn't looked at it that way before, had you? Over the coming decades, this technology could quietly become part of everyday life. We may begin to see slim water harvesting panels installed alongside solar panels on the rooftops of homes. Schools and hospitals could produce part of their own water supply right on their buildings. Small communities in arid regions may no longer have to wait weeks for water trucks to arrive. Disaster relief camps could begin generating safe drinking water from the very first day. In cities, however, this technology probably won't replace existing water networks. Instead, it will complement them. While reservoirs and large-scale infrastructure continue supplying densely populated areas, neighborhoods at the edges of the grid, or places where pipelines struggle to reach, could rely on their own localized water sources. The result would be a more resilient and flexible system, one where water is produced not from a single centralized source, but from countless smaller ones. Much like the shift we've already seen in energy, from centralized power plants to distributed solar and wind generation. Now imagine this. 10 years from now, your child looks at you and asks, "Dad, where did water used to come from?" What would you tell them? When we bring all of this together, we're left with one simple, but deeply profound question. For as long as civilization has existed, we've treated water as something fixed, something tied to geography. If you lived beside a river or above an underground aquifer, you were fortunate. If you didn't, you weren't. Cities, civilizations, and even wars have been shaped by that fundamental reality. But what if water were no longer defined by geography? What if it became a resource available anywhere there is air? This is no longer just an engineering question. It's a question that could reshape the way humanity thinks about settlement, migration, and even the meaning of international borders. If water no longer depends on where you are, but simply on whether there's sky above you, which lines on the world's map might begin to lose their meaning? I'll leave that question with you. There isn't a single right answer to that question. For some people, this technology represents hope. For others, it's still a promise that has yet to be fully proven. We asked ourselves the same question, and we couldn't settle on one answer. So what's yours? Where you live, is water something so easily available that you hardly ever think about it? Or is it a challenge you notice as part of everyday life? Let me know in the comments. I'd genuinely like to hear your perspective. Harvesting water from the air is really just one piece of a much bigger challenge. Humanity's effort to redesign a way of living that depends less on scarce resources. That's why we also explore other ideas that may seem impossible at first, but are grounded in real science and engineering. Some focus on energy, others on transportation, others on the very cities we live in. If you are interested in realistic solutions to real-world problems, consider subscribing. Real problems, realistic solutions. A G Projects.